Greetings YouTube, Simon here, hope you're all doing well today, and yet more Final Fantasy VII Remake news for you, courtesy of some new gameplay footage that's reared its head over at TGS. And this footage actually demonstrates to us the Apps encounter. Now, you'll remember that Apps was the boss that's fought in the sewers in the original Final Fantasy VII, as is the case here in the remake, clearly. Although I've got to say, that's some pretty darn spacious sewers that they have there in Midgar. Now, the original boss fight was a fun one, and the boss used water to his advantage, that dirty sewage water, covering the party with it in order to do a lot of damage. And interestingly, that's also been implemented here in the remake. You can see these puddles that are scattered around. Well, the boss will be expounding water from those in order to, do damage. And also has this ability where he can smash the pipes in the air to cover the party in water. So I like the fact that they've used the original Apps, obviously, as inspiration for this remade version. But whereas perhaps the original wasn't as grounded in reality, just summoning tsunamis out of nowhere, they've kept that same similar mechanic, but have actually given reason as to how he can do those abilities. So I like that. And Apps himself, I think the design here is incredible. I just love it. I love the way he's got these chains hanging off his arms. Very clearly some kind of Shinra experiment gone wrong that's either escaped or been banished to the sewers. Never really had a story behind him in the original Final Fantasy VII. You just encountered him, fought him, defeated him, and not a word was said. But hopefully in the remake, as part of the fact that Square are expounding upon the various gameplay elements and the story as we go through Midgar, because the whole area is so much bigger, we'll get to learn more about these enemies as we come to battle them. But one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this gameplay was, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen there, we have the summon bar. Now, I mentioned briefly in the last video that it seems that summons in Final Fantasy VII Remake are going to be similar to how summons worked in Final Fantasy XII. If you've played the Zodiac Age recently, you'll probably have a good idea of how this is going to be going in. But it seems that once you've recruited a summon, in this case the Ifrit summon, then you'll get this summon bar on the right hand side. I assume that the player or one of the party members has to equip it as a materia first. And that bar is going to fill up throughout the encounter, I guess similar to an ATB. And when it's filled, you can then go ahead and activate the summon. And as you could see then, Ifrit was called into the battle. Looks like this is the first time this player has done so, which is why we've got this brief tutorial popping up on the right hand side. But one of the things about summons in this game is I suspect you're going to be using them a lot. Not because they're going to be necessarily overbalanced or imbalanced, but because they just look so amazing. Ifrit here, the effects and having him as a fourth party member, just everything working together here is absolutely incredible. I really, really am a fan of this. So, as I said, similar to Final Fantasy XII, Ifrit has been summoned. He's now effectively a fourth party member here. You can see that Aerith and Tifa are still very much active. They're still battling away at the boss there, along with Cloud, but Ifrit has also joined the fray. But we can see now that as Ifrit is with them, that timer that was originally filling up before he could be summoned is now going down. So it's not a very lengthy timer. I'd suspect maybe about a minute. Which is probably how long he's going to have on the battlefield. And then at the end of that timer, Ifrit is going to cast his ultimate ability, perhaps Hellfire as it's known in the original game, and that will finish off Ifrit's time on the battlefield, and then he'll go and leave. Now, I'll be interested to know whether the player can activate that ultimate ability early. Perhaps, yes, he will leave the battlefield at that point, even if his timer hasn't expired, but at least it gives that bit of control to the player. But more importantly, can the player actually take control of the summons in the same way that they can take control of other party members? One of the great things you could do in Final Fantasy XII was actually, I think this was only in the Zodiac Age, I don't know if you could do this in the original, but anyway, you could definitely do it in the Zodiac Age, was actually manually take control of the summons, or the Esras as they were known in that game, and control them yourself, choosing what abilities, moving them around the battlefield, and it was just so much fun. It was definitely something that a lot of players enjoy doing, so hopefully something similar will be available to us here in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And we finished off then, we saw the ultimate ability of Ifrit as his timer expired, and it happened to destroy the boss as well. So let's just see that again, shall we? I mean, just look at the effects here. The fire effects in particular are absolutely astounding. And one of the things that you can definitely see is that they haven't just pulled Ifrit in out of Final Fantasy 15. One of the things that I was concerned about was that because Final Fantasy 15 was a PS4 game, that Final Fantasy 7 would just try and cut corners by pulling assets out of that game. But it looks so far that they haven't done that. This is definitely a game that's been built from the ground up. Yeah, but anyway, guys, that's what I wanted to show you, the Ifrit summon. Hopefully we'll get a closer look at some of the other summons as well. We know that Shiva is a summon in the game, and also Carbuncle and Cactuar are 2 additional summons that are coming as DLC for the various pre-ordered editions of the game. One thing, though, that I'm not clear on, maybe you guys can clarify this. I think Cactuar is included in the Digital Deluxe Edition, but I believe Carbuncle is only included in the First Class Edition. That's the edition that comes with the physical toy thing, Cloud model with his bike, which is very expensive. And I get the fact that it's expensive because you get that physical model, but tying a digital DLC to that exclusively would be a little bit rubbish on Square's behalf. So I hope that isn't the case. I hope I'm mistaken. But from what I can see on their website, that is actually the case, which is a little bit worrying. Anyway, guys, yep, so they're the 4 summons that we know about. We've seen Ifrit in action now. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you excited to play the Final Fantasy VII Remake? Do you think you'll be calling these summons into battle frequently? I get the impression that I certainly will be. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to drop a like if you did, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.